Hey everybody, my name is Jan Dufour and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I live just outside of Louisville, Kentucky. Last week I showed you how to use the Thoughtful Moments hybrid embossing folder and die cut. And it makes beautiful, oops, I'm dropping everything. It makes beautiful words that are embossed, and then depending if you use the brayer and put ink on it, can be outlined to look like this. So if you did not see that video and you want to know how to make these, you need to go back to the one that's Thoughtful Moments Hybrid. But what I wanted to do now is to show you how I use them. There are different ways. So first of all, you start off with a gorgeous paper called Nature's Sweetness. And there's 12 sheets, 2 of each different kinds. One side is got foil on it, and the other side does not. There's only 3 colors in this particular one, and they are Pebbled Path Pecan Pie, or Pecan Pie, depending on where you're from, and gold foil. So what I did was I took one of the sheets that had minimal writing on it. I would say that it's very difficult to see what it says, but you can tell if it's upside down. So while you're using it, make sure you don't put it on upside down. And one of the 2 of the sheets, because I do 2 of each kind. Let me put this away. 2 of the sheets are like this. So I'm going to show you how you get the cards out of that. The first thing I did, and this is a little bit of playing around with and deciding what you want. There's going to be a link to, let's see, where's the ones that I give to you guys? Looks like this. There'll be a link that has a chart saying cards and envelope size, where I have A2 highlighted. Mine is laminated. Yours, of course, will not, because you'll be printing it off, but you can get it laminated. And it tells you layers. Normally, first layer, second layer, that's what you see the majority. But if you want a thinner border, you can use the half layer, and I've got it all the way to 3 layers. But this is where we're going to get our measurements for how we end up with what we have. And let me show you the cards just real quick so you can get an idea of how they're used. The first one, and we're going to make these, it's going to have a different saying, but the first one is a skinnier one. There's less white that I could trim down. So I used the gold foil, and it's on Pecan Pie cardstock. The next one is similar. It has the same amount of framing around it. It's the same size in here. And this one says Just Because. And then this one is a larger size. I could have continued to trim it down. I could have gotten probably another 1/4 of an inch between the 2 sides and the top and bottom. But I chose to just do it back on the Pecan Pie. I'm sorry, this one was on Pebbled Path, the back of this one. And then this is another one on Pecan Pie, using some of our leather-like string. It's not a string. And then putting the sentiment up there. So I'm going to show you how to make those cards. But first of all, when I put the full sheet in, I went right to 6 inches and cut it in half. And that way I'm working. These are 3 different ones. I'm working with individual ones to start off with, and I'm gonna fiddle around with it just the same, rather than just look at the measurements. I can do that as well, but just to give you an idea of how I came up with that. Basically, I wanted to cut in between evenly between these 2 to get about the biggest size I could get. So I'm not measuring. I'm just cutting similar, sides. That works. This one, again, this one's bigger, but I still basically want to try to cut in the center of this one. So there's that. And then there's the bigger one. This one's going to get cut down. I already know a little bit here, but let's start with this one. And so this one ended up getting cut down to the 3rd level, I believe. Let me see real quick. Yeah, 3.5. So when you look at this, 3.5 is the 3rd layer. So we've got the card, the first layer, and then this went directly to the 3rd layer because I wanted more of a border. If I'd gone to the 2nd layer, it would only have this much of a border. So the card would come out to here, kind of hiding the pretty paper, and I wanted that to show. So that means that I have to make this 3.5 by 4 3/4. So let's see what we actually have. We have a little over 4. So I'm going to take, I usually start by taking 1/8 of an inch off if I can for both sides. There's enough here. I can do that. And I'll turn it around, and remember I wanted it to be 3.5. So I will go to the 3.5 mark and see whether or not that will cut too much off. If it is, I'll go cheat a little bit and take a hair off of here so that I can take a hair less over here. But I'm fine with it. I cut off 1 dot. I'm okay with that. And we'll put that away. And then lengthwise, we need it to be 4 3/4. So what do we have? We have 6. That's not going to go. And I know I can cut off about that much. And then what does that give me? I'm looking for 4 3/4, which is here. That's too much. That's going to be right to the edge, and there'll be more down there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take about 1/8 of an inch off of this. It's a little, you know, finagling, but it's a good idea to be able to do this. Stampin' Up! Gives us sheets like this often. Actually, one of the best videos, or the most looked at videos I had, was with one, I can't remember what it was called, but it was beautiful. It was called, I can't remember. It was very pretty. Anyway, take my word for it. So now we're going to look at my videos, and you'll see it looks like it's surrounded in an arch of flowers. It's very pretty. Okay, so we're looking for 4 3/4, which is about here. Now I'm comfortable with cutting that off. So as you can see, whether it's perfect or not, it's pretty perfect. It's a little off here, but I don't care. So now I have this one, which is going to go on this one, which is cut at the 1st level. Because remember, we wanted, so we're going from 3rd level to 1st level. So this sheet is 4 by 5 1/4. And I'm going to go ahead and get that rolling. And then we can go ahead and cut the other 2, because again, those are going to be different. This is a brand new ink, or glue. What am I saying? Ink. It's a brand new glue, and there's a lot coming out at first. So here's a trick. Go into your garbage. Everybody has a garbage there. And just wipe a little of it down, because there's too much. And then I want to put, remember, make sure your words are right side up. You can read it if you try really hard. But it'll be noticeable if they're upside down, believe me. So we're going to put that here. I'm going to set that off to the side. Actually, let me go ahead and put it on the card. And then I'll use my big stamp holder and use it for my paperweight, which is what I usually do. And then this one will only have a border of 1/8 of an inch all the way around. All right, so, oops, I picked that one up by mistake. So I'm going to set this aside. I think it's off screen. It is. But I'm using my biggest stamp. It's used for backgrounds, but I always use my stamp positioner. And I'm just laying it on top of, you can barely see it here, just to let it dry. All right, so now we take the next one. And remember on this one, it's going to also be the smaller one. Bring this back. So we want 3.5 by 4 3/4. So it is already cut at not quite 3.5. There's a hair that I need to take off. I'm going to take it off at this side because it's bigger than it is on this one. So here we go, 3.5. Now, when you're cutting a very small section, if your blade is not very sharp, I generally tell you to put it, doesn't have to be in the middle, but not at either edge. Then go up and then down, and it will cut off with no jagging. Now, if you have a very sharp blade, it won't jag anyway, but if you've been using it and you start here and you start with a very narrow piece, you might get it jagged. So that's a clue for that. All right, so this is way too big. It's 4 3/4. Which right now it's at 6. So we have quite a bit to take off. I'm going to start with taking off a 1/2 inch. I know that's not going to be enough, but I want to see what happens. 4 3/4 actually. Nope, it's a little bit too low. If I cut here, there's a lot more white up here. So I'm going to take another. This is 1/8 of an inch. I'm taking about a 1/16 off. Again, I'm going to start in the middle and then go back and forth. Took a little bit more off. Now I'm looking for my 4 3/4. And I'm okay with that. Boom. That one's done. And while you're doing them, there's 2 of each one on one sheet. Let me show that to you again. So there's 2 of each one. So you could actually do both of them at the same time if you wanted to. All right, so this one is also going, here's the original, is also going on the pretty script. So I'm going to go ahead and start that one and put this down. Then we'll work on the sentiments all at the same time. And put that with the pretty border. Words upright. And then we're putting this again on pecan pie. That project sheet that I make, if you're watching me on YouTube, you can go to stampmesilly.com and look at the project, and there'll be a video because you're already watching that. There will be a project sheet. There will be a link to my website if you want to purchase anything. What else do I put on there? I put the products that I used. The project sheet will also have that, but it'll be smaller. So I'm going to put that aside and stick that under my compressor as well. Now this is the odd one, and by odd I mean it's bigger than the others. And I knew that trying to cut it down to 3.5 was going to make it too small. So I decided to go up to the next layer, the second layer, which is 3 3/4, which would be this big. Of course, I don't want to cut it right there because that would be cutting the leaves, but that's where I could be 3 3/4 by 5. The other thing I could do is also make it, I think I did do it that way. I made it one layer. Let me look at the original. Yeah, so I did make it that first layer instead of the second layer. So there's not a lot of pecan showing through. Oh, and I'm using, I put this one on the, no, I did that right. No, one of them should have been on the gray granite, but that's okay. First layer. So I want it 4 by 5 1/4, which makes more sense. So if I cut it at 4 here, I'd be pretty close to the leaves. So what I'm going to do is do that 1/8 of an inch again and start not at the end, but a little bit inside. Now I want to go for the 4, which should be here. And we're only cutting off, I'm going to do that again because there is just a little bit. So there is your 4. And then we want 5 1/4. We have 6, so we have a ways to go. So I'm just going to cut off half an inch. We'll start there. Then we'll go to 5 1/4. That's not taking off enough because I'm going to want it around here. So we can go down a layer to the second layer and do it at 5, which I think will look better. There we go. I'll take that off. So top to bottom is good. Side to side is a little bit bigger over here. And if we're going to do that second layer, we want it 3 3/4. So let's see what that looks like. I'm going to take a sliver off of this side, just again, not even, it's probably a 1/16 of an inch, starting not at the edge. So again, I'm just taking off oops, and it doesn't even matter what the measurement is specifically, but I'm taking off a very little piece. Now when I turn it around and I want it at 3 3/4, that would be here. Then I'm okay with cutting off. I look in my track and I don't see any leaves there. So I made it work out okay. So this is going to be a little bit different than what I originally planned, simply because I made it smaller. So I can do a couple of different things. I can back it with another sheet to make this be the second layer. I actually think I have, yes, I do. I have another strip when you cut them at 4 inches, which is what layer would be for the first layer, which is what I wanted, 4 inches. I'm going to go ahead and do 5 1/4. This is probably confusing you, but if you look at it again, once you have your own chart, it will make more sense. All I'm doing is deciding how my layers are going to fit. Now this one, like I said, I cut down more than I did originally. Oops, this is not working out here. Yeah. And then I can either put it on what I have, which is the gray, pebbled path, which is fine, and just change the color of the Love You and make it the pebbled path. So we'll do it a little bit differently, and that will work out fine. So we're going to put this on top. It's kind of nice only working with 3 colors, basically. There's not a lot of trying to decide what color. You're using 2 of our, basic colors pretty much. Put that there, and then we're going to put this here. And then we're going to work on our sentiments that we cut out last week. So again, if you haven't seen that video using the embossing hybrid die cut folder, then you need to go back and watch that to see, I can take these out now, to see how these sentiments were made. And this just leaves a much smaller border, but that's okay. It's a bigger piece, so I really couldn't do anything else other than get rid of this layer and leave this be the first layer. All right, so we're sticking that underneath, and then we're going to put this aside, and we're going to work on this one, which is going to be on, got our cards out here, this one. So again, I did this last week, and so now I'm going to go ahead and do something to this. And basically what I decided to do, this is the one that I put on the quote wrong color. It doesn't matter. It all goes. What I'm thinking to myself is I think I'm going to go ahead and instead of making this gray, pebbled path, I'm going to go ahead and make it pecan pie so it can match the base card. And as you can see, it's really not hard. You can just dot it if it didn't completely color. And let's see. We have stormy weather here in Louisville, Kentucky. The skies are gray. So I'm not getting as much natural light as I usually do. I have to be careful with my lighting so you don't get a terrible glare from my lights. So I feel like I'm in the dark, but it's okay. It's fine. Okay, so there, just because, and I like that. The question is going to be, do I like it on the gray? And I believe the answer is going to be no. It's okay because there's the pebbled path there. Let me just see real quick what it would look like if I put it on pecan pie. Let me see if I like it better. And I'm not going to cut it out yet. I'm just going to do this. Oh, I do like it better, unfortunately. All right, so it's not unfortunate. It's just not prepared. So I'm going to go ahead and do it real quick. I'm going to make this a 1/2 inch. And then lengthwise, you kind of have to do a little bit of guessing and adjusting. Don't you love it? This was already, I knew it was too big. This is 3 1/4. So I'm going to do this 3 inches. I'm holding it in my hand. Am I being weird? Okay, some days are better than others, folks. Here we go. Isn't this how you craft anyway? You do stuff and then you cut it and then you think, oh, this isn't right. Let me try that again. And then we're going to use our lovely label Pick-a-Punch. There's 2 different edges. For this one, since it was so small, I decided to go with the straight edge. I always do it upside down. So there are 3 levels. You can have a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, or an inch. And then I'm just making sure that, where's my pick? Sometimes I use this to help it. I'm trying to make sure that this is my husband's home. I hope you didn't hear that. He dropped something. All right. So I just try to make sure it's in the right vicinity. And then I'm going to turn it around and do that. It's easier when it's longer. Let me just take a look and make sure I've got it right. Yep. And punch it. And then the question is going to be, is it too long? And if it is, we will make it a little bit shorter. But actually, I think it's just right. Perfect. All right. So the other thing I did, which I'm going to do after I glue this, put some glue down. This is a new bottle, so it's definitely, I must have had it standing up somewhere instead of laying sideways. All right, let's push it down a little bit. I want it to go this way a little bit more. There we go. Just because. And then I'm going to, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and pop it up on dimensionals. And then I can do the Wink of Stella and not touch it. Wink of Stella I've been on a Wink of Stella kick. It happens at Christmas time anyway, because I just think that Christmas cards should be sparkly, I guess. But Wink of Stella is kind of a subtle sparkle. So I don't mind using it throughout the year, if you will. But sometimes I forget about it. That's my biggest problem. So this is a card we're replicating. We're making it a little bit different because the base ended up being a different color. And this time, I think because it is this color, I'm going to move it up just a hair so it has more of a background. As long as you don't press, you can still lift this up. Yay. All right, now Wink of Stella. This is quick. The smaller one, I just smear over the top of it and it looks good. These letters are elevated because they're embossed. So it makes it kind of easy. Now, the trick is, can I make you see the Wink of Stella? It's subtle, so it probably doesn't show much. But anyway, there's our first card. We'll put that off to the side. Then we're going to do this one. And instead of Oh Happy Day, we're making it a sympathy card. We're basically doing the same thing, only I think I only need the 3/4 inch banner. And because the background is this color, I'm going to use the pecan pie. I'm going to see how big that is before I decide, because I'm going to basically put it down there. Yeah, that's a good size. And so I need it to be about this long, which I will tell you in a second is 2 1/4 inches. All right, this time I'm going to use the other side, which is this top, which is here. And again, you have to wiggle it around. I'll show you as soon as I get it centered. And again, I use this sometimes to get it over a little bit. I'm trying to get it so that it is centered this way. The bigger one, the 1 inch one, as you can see, it works really well. You don't have to do that as much because the tract is as big as the inside of this is. So it holds it a little bit more steady. I just found this is just easier than trying to finagle and mess with it and worry about it. There we go. Get that centered. And let's see if that's a good size. Perfect. All right, with this one, I think I'm going to go with, I don't know, should I leave it? I might just leave it white. Hang on. Let us design together. With just Wink of Stella on it. What a dilemma. Okay, I'm going to just be ornery, and I'm going to use Pebbled Path on it just because I used Pebble Path on the other one, but of course I have a different background. But the drawing is, you know, it's like an ink drawing, so it matches. It's not a problem that way. It's just what I wanted to highlight. These are tiny letters. And so sometimes rather than draw, I just kind of dab. And that works. All right, and I'm going to do the same thing, put the Wink of Stella on afterwards. So we're going to glue this. And I'm going to center this. That is not centered. I love this tool. It's part of the accessories edition. In other words, it doesn't come with the original, but it's a hook. And it works so good for so many things. There we go. Like that. Then I'm going to pop this one up with dimensionals. The next one is going to be a little bit different in what we use. Actually, 2 is enough. I'll put one back. The other one said Happy Day. This is the exact opposite. It's with Sympathy. I make cards for Christmas and give them away, and my sister-in-law is one of the ones who gets them all, and she says, unfortunately, she's in her 70s. She said, I need a lot of sympathy cards, so I always make her extra. There we go. And then I am going to use Wink of Stella also, just because I'm in the groove of Wink of Stella. And it doesn't show as much. I just encourage you to try using a Wink of Stella. It is so pretty, and I'll show you where it will show up more. It does show up a little bit here, but you kind of have to look. So that's our second card. And then our last card is going to be a little bit different just because we added a border to it. We ended up making it a bit smaller, but that's okay. The first thing I did was take some of this faux leather trim, which is in our mini catalog. It's sparkly on both sides, so it doesn't really matter which side you use. But I essentially just put a little bit of glue. Well, I'm telling you, I'm going to put a little bit of glue. Come on, there's the little bit of glue. Okay, oops, I got some on my new screen, which is fine because it wipes clean very easily because it's glass. And it's tempered glass. I don't know if I said that, but you can do heat embossing on it. You know, you can put ink right on there if you want to use it as a palette and then just wash it off. Wipe it clean. So I'm going to put it about here. Then I went outside just a hair so that I could, oops. So I could cut the edge off is what I was getting at. Alrighty. This needs a little bit more. I went further than I, thought. There we go. Luckily, the glue dries clear. All right, let me put this off to the side. I press that down a little bit. And then I need my scissors, my snips. And we'll make it the right size automatically. There we go. And then when we put the saying on it, we're going to put dimensionals on this side and on this side, but none on here, and it will be even. So actually, I'm going to bring it down a little bit here. So I did two things with this. I colored it, first of all. And this one's going to say, love you, which is good for Valentine's Day. If you haven't made a Valentine card yet, this would be lovely. And then the other thing I did that was different on this card is, and I think it shows pretty well on camera, I colored in the pecan pie circle that's on there already. I'm trying to get my fingers in the right spot here. All right, put a dot there. And so I am going to put a dimensional down on the U, on the Y, I mean, of the word U, because I know it's going to be coming through. I'm going to actually get some mini dimensionals because I'm not sure exactly where that's going to be. I need more minis. There we go. I think I'm just going to put one more here. And then we'll see how that goes. Then I'll do the Wink of Stella. I bet these little ones are going to show up in every place too. All right, so you see there's nothing right here, which is where I'm going to put the cord. So basically like this. There. Now we're going to do some Wink of Stella. Now I noticed, because I've been using it, that I have not got as much pretty stuff showing, the glitter. So I'm going to give it a squeeze. Don't squeeze it to death. You can see it coming down in here. When you see it come down, that's enough. So you can see the Wink Stella. It's so pretty. And in this one, not only did I do the letters, love you. And because it dries clear, except for the sparkle, doesn't matter if you're off a little bit. But I actually painted the inside of this circle, which I think made it, I don't know why I thought it was more plain than the others, because it's not really. It's actually busier. There's more flowers, etc. And if you want, you can color in these flowers. It would make a beautiful piece of art if you did some blending on the leaves and on the flowers. I'm going to give it another squeeze. It would make it even more beautiful. I was going for not masculine per se, but just not prissy. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I love flowers when they're printed, but you know, sometimes sending that to a guy is just kind of not quite right. All right, let's see if I can get you. Oops, there's a piece up here. I usually color this part in first, but I did not this time. Okay. Here's the last card. It's not quite dry, so it may not shine as much. But here's the other card, which is dry and does indeed shine. Isn't that pretty? So there you go. 3 cards. In this case, 6 cards. Yep, up here. Up here. Wait a minute. There we go. There we go. My 3-year-old granddaughter could have done matching better than I did. Anyway, you get 6 cards out of one sheet of this cardstock, the DSP, and there's a whole nother sheet, so you could get twice as many. And again, it didn't take very long putting these together. You can cut them in, you know, if you're doing these 2, you can do all 4 of them from the other sheet as well and get them done very quickly. I hope you enjoyed this little lesson on how to use the actual things that we did last week to put on cards to make them look beautiful. Enjoy. Bye.